Before the world learned how to fear the future, a small group of scientists learned how to build it. They worked beneath the city, far from sunlight, far from names that mattered. No banners, no press, no glory, just concrete walls, humming machines, and a single invention that could rewrite everything humanity thought it understood. They called it the Dream Capsule. Not because it created dreams, but because it blurred the line between dreams, memory, time, and the soul itself. The capsule was not a machine for the body, it was a vessel for the spirit. When a human entered the capsule, their consciousness, what philosophers once called the soul, was released from time. It could travel forward into futures that had not yet formed, or backward into pasts long buried under dust and blood and myth. The capsule did not just show history, it placed you inside it, but there was a cost. No one who entered had ever returned fully the same, and that was the problem. They were brilliant, every one of them, but they were also afraid. None of the scientists were willing to be the first true test subject. If the capsule failed, if the soul never returned, the loss would be permanent. So they made a decision that would haunt them forever. They would choose someone invisible, someone without power, without family, without influence, without anyone who could make the world listen if something went wrong. Someone poor, someone forgotten, someone the world would never believe. Her name was May. She was not the youngest on the team, nor the most celebrated, but she was the sharpest observer. She saw patterns where others saw chaos. She felt guilt where others felt logic, and she was the one chosen to find him. That afternoon, May walked through the older districts of the city, where buildings leaned like tired men, and hope was something people used carefully so it wouldn't break. She blended in. No lab coat, no credentials, just another woman in a crowd that never looked twice, until the moment everything changed. It happened in seconds. A thief burst from between two streets, colliding with May hard enough to knock the breath from her chest. Her wallet was gone before she could scream. The thief ran, and someone else ran after him. A man, tall, thin, worn shoes. A jacket too light for the season. Determined eyes. May watched as he chased the thief through traffic, over trash-strewn sidewalks, past shouting vendors, until finally, the thief tripped. The man returned, breathing hard, and placed the wallet back in May's shaking hands. His name was John. May thanked him more times than necessary. Then she did something unplanned. May, let me buy you a coffee. May, please. John hesitated. People like him learned early that kindness often came with traps. But he agreed. They sat in a small cafe, the kind where the cups were chipped and the coffee was too strong. And this is where I want to speak directly to you, listening right now. If you believe in stories that take time, care, and heart to be told, if you want to support the creation of worlds like this one, well, you can support me on Ko-fi, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Now, back to the story. May listened more than she spoke. John talked about odd jobs, about sleeping where he could, about how the city never noticed him unless it needed something. And May, brilliant, dangerous May, began to move closer. A smile here, a question there, a shared silence that felt almost warm. She was not lying, but she was not telling the truth either. Over days, then weeks, she returned. Coffee became meals. Meals became walks. Walks became something softer. John trusted her, and that trust would be his undoing. The night they brought him to the facility, John believed he was helping May with her research project. The capsule stood in the center of the room, smooth, dark, breathing softly like a sleeping beast. When John realized the truth, it was too late. The capsule closed, the machine activated, and John's soul was torn free from time. At first, they saw signals, past, future, futures that collapsed, pasts that screamed. Then, silence. John never woke up. His body lived, but his mind, his soul, was gone, traveling, falling, forever. They tried everything, until May made a decision no one else dared to make. She would enter another dream capsule. She would follow him. And this time, she was no longer running from her guilt. She was running toward the man she realized, too late, that she loved. May's soul shattered into motion. She crossed the birth of Earth, the rise of fire, the fall of empires, wars that had no names, civilizations that never survived long enough to be remembered, planets that burned, stars that died screaming. She fought, she hid, she loved and lost echoes of people who were never John, until finally, she found him. John stood barefoot on cold stone, surrounded by firelight and fear. "What did you do to me? Where am I? Who am I?" May fell to her knees. Tears didn't exist here, but regret did. John's eyes burned with terror. His hands shook as he grabbed a sharp stone from the ground, instinct older than language taking control of him. Around them, primitive humans watched from a distance, whispering in guttural sounds, half afraid of May, half afraid of the way John looked at her, as if she were a ghost clawing her way out of the fire. May didn't move. She let him threaten her. She let him hate her, because she knew she deserved it. "I did this. I broke time to find you." The sound echoed across a world that had not yet learned what screaming meant.
John's mind was a room filled with shattered mirrors. Each fragment reflected a different life, a different time, a different sun rising in an unfamiliar sky. He remembered the rough feel of a Roman toga against his skin, the acrid smell of coal smoke in Victorian London, and the silent hum of anti-gravity vehicles in a city of chrome that did not yet exist. These memories were not his, not truly, but they had been forced upon him by the machine. The time displacement engine had promised discovery. Instead, it had stolen his sense of self, leaving behind a mosaic of moments he could not place, faces he did not know, and a profound, aching loneliness that was the only constant. He would often stand still, his eyes unfocused, lost in the chaotic gallery of his own thoughts. One moment, he was a boy chasing a hoop down a cobblestone street. The next, a soldier hunkering in a muddy trench as explosions shook the earth. He felt the phantom pain of wounds he had never received, and the distant joy of celebrations he had never attended. His own name, John, felt foreign on his tongue, a label for a man who no longer existed in a single, cohesive form. The anger came in waves, a hot and helpless rage at the machine that had fractured him, and at the world for continuing to spin as if he were whole. With him through it all was May. She was his only point of reference, the one constant star in a swirling cosmos of confusion. He would look at her, her face etched with a gentle concern, and a sliver of clarity would cut through the fog. He knew her. He did not always remember how or why, but the certainty of her presence was a small, solid thing to hold on to. She would speak his name softly, and for a fleeting instant, the cacophony in his head would quiet, allowing him to see the man he was, standing beside the woman who refused to let him disappear completely into the temporal storm. Sometimes, the fragments would overwhelm him entirely. He would lash out, not at May, but at the ghosts that haunted him. He saw the face of a Civil War general in a passing stranger and felt a surge of old allegiance. He heard the cry of a market vendor in medieval France and was compelled to barter for goods that were not there. May learned to read the signs, to see the shift in his eyes when he was slipping away. She would take his hand, her touch a tether to the present, reminding him that he was here, now, and he was not alone in the wreckage of his mind. Their existence was a frantic, desperate flight. The time machine, damaged and unpredictable, would lurch without warning, tearing them from one era and depositing them violently into another. One moment, they were hiding in the shadowed underbelly of a glittering future metropolis, security drones whining overhead, and the next they were scrambling for cover in the dense jungles of the Cretaceous period. The roar of a Tyrannosaurus shook the very ground beneath their feet, its shadow a terrifying blot against the ancient sun. Danger was their constant companion, a relentless hunter that pursued them across the millennia, wearing a different face in every age. They learned to adapt with a speed born of pure necessity. In the dusty, sun-baked landscape of the American West, they dodged stray bullets from a saloon brawl, the sharp crack of gunfire echoing in the hot, dry air. They learned the taste of fear as they navigated the labyrinthine, plague-ridden alleys of 14th century Paris, pulling their cloaks tight to hide their faces from suspicious eyes. Every jump was a gamble, a spin of a wheel that could land them in a field of flowers or the heart of a raging battlefield. They survived on stolen bread, foraged berries, and the sheer, stubborn will to see another sunrise. John's fragmented memories were both a curse and a blessing in their perilous journey. He would suddenly know the precise layout of a Roman garrison, allowing them to find a safe hiding place just as a patrol marched past. He could instinctively understand the dialect of a long-dead language, helping them to avoid conflict with a suspicious tribe. Yet these moments of lucidity were fleeting. He might just as easily freeze in the middle of a chase, captivated by the memory of a peaceful life, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. May had to be his guardian, his protector, pulling him forward when his mind pulled him back. The machine's erratic jumps were a form of torture. There was no rest, no time to heal or to catch their breath. They were ghosts, flitting through the pages of history, leaving no trace but their own frantic footprints. They huddled for warmth during the bitter cold of an ice age, the wind a physical blow against their thin clothing. They gasped for air in the smog-choked atmosphere of a dystopian factory world. Through it all, May held on to John, her grip a promise that no matter where or when they landed, they would face it together. The machine had done more than just shatter John's mind. It had changed the very fabric of his being. He was not merely remembering other lives. He had, in a way, lived them all at once. The temporal displacement had imprinted countless experiences directly onto his consciousness. He carried the wisdom of ancient philosophers, the sorrows of forgotten kings, and the simple, profound joys of farmers watching their crops grow. He was a vessel containing multitudes, a man whose soul was a library of human history, but the librarian was lost, unable to catalogue the overwhelming influx of information. May understood this. She saw that his anger was not madness, but the profound grief of a man who had lost his singular identity. He was drowning in the experiences of others, his own life a single drop of rain in an endless ocean. So she began the slow, patient work of helping him find himself again. She did not try to erase the other lives. Instead, she helped him find the good. She would ask him about the fragments, not as symptoms of an illness, but as stories waiting to be told. She encouraged him to share the fleeting images of kindness and beauty. "Tell me about a happy moment," she would say, her voice soft in the quiet of a prehistoric night. And John, after a long silence, would speak. He would describe the feeling of a child's laughter in a sunlit Renaissance courtyard. He spoke of the shared warmth of a family huddled around a fire in a simple Viking longhouse. He recalled the awe of watching the twin moons rise over a Martian colony. These were not his memories, but through May's gentle prompting, he began to see the common thread of humanity that ran through them all, a thread of light in the darkness. Her love was an anchor in the storm of his mind. When he was lost in the terror of a battle, he never fought. She would remind him of the day they met, of the simple joy of sharing a meal, of the sound of her own laughter. These were his memories, real and solid. She rebuilt him piece by piece, not by trying to fix what was broken, but by adding new, shared memories to the chaotic collection. She showed him that even a man made of fragments could create a beautiful mosaic, and that love was the grout that could hold it all together. One day, the machine faltered in a way it never had before. It sputtered into a quiet green field in what felt like their own time, or one very close to it. A short distance away, a road stretched toward a small, peaceful town. For the first time in their endless flight, an escape presented itself. The machine was damaged, but May realized she could likely trigger one final, one-way jump. She could send herself home, to a life of safety and predictability, a life without constant fear and a man whose mind was a battlefield. The choice was hers, stark and clear. She looked at John. He was watching a butterfly dance on a wildflower, a rare, quiet smile on his face. In that moment, he was not the soldier, not the philosopher, not the futuristic citizen. He was just John, the man she loved, finding a moment of peace in a world that had given him none. Leaving him would be an act of self-preservation, the logical, sensible thing to do. It would mean safety. It would mean an end to the running. But it would also mean leaving behind the only thing that had ever truly mattered. The thought of a life without him, even a safe one, felt colder and more desolate than any ice age they had endured. She had spent so long being his anchor that she had not realized he had become hers as well. His fragmented world had become her own, and in the midst of its chaos, she had found a purpose and a love more profound than any she had ever known. She had seen the worst of history and the bleakness of the future, but she had also seen the enduring power of a single act of kindness, a shared laugh, a gentle touch, all through his eyes. Slowly, she walked over to him and took his hand. He looked up at her, his eyes clear for a moment, full of a question he could not voice. She smiled, a true and certain smile. "I'm staying," she said softly. She did not need to explain. In that moment, John understood. Her choice was not a sacrifice, it was a declaration. With her by his side, he was not a collection of broken pieces. He was a man loved completely, and in that love, he was finally made whole. The running was not over, but they were no longer just surviving. They were home.
In the lab, alarms screamed. One pod opened, not two. May's body never woke up. John did. He screamed her name. The scientist tried to speak, but John already knew. He walked out of the facility and disappeared into a world that felt wrong, quiet, empty without her. Sometimes, late at night, John dreams, not of war, not of planets, but of a woman walking through firelight, unafraid, waiting. And somewhere beyond time, beyond past and future, May waits in the dream capsule, no longer a scientist, but a memory keeping the universe from breaking. The universe did not break, it bent. Time, wounded by what May and John had done, began to heal itself in strange ways. Histories rewrote small details, futures shifted their weight. Wars that once consumed planets now ended a day earlier. Stars that should have died flickered back to life. And deep inside the dream capsule, beyond measurement, beyond clocks, May remained conscious. She was no longer moving, she was anchored. Every era passed through her like a tide. She felt the birth of civilizations as a warmth in her chest. She felt their collapse as quiet grief. She became a living scene, stitching past and future together, so reality would not tear. She thought of John, always John. John could not sleep. The world he returned to felt thin, like paper stretched too tight. Colors were duller. Sounds arrived a second too late. People moved as if they were following instructions written somewhere else. He knew why. Part of his soul was missing, and it was with her. The scientists tried to stop him when he came back. They failed. John dismantled the facility with a precision that terrified them. Not rage, not revenge, but purpose. He knew the systems, not because he had learned them here, but because in one possible future, he had built something similar on a moon orbiting a dead sun. He rebuilt the capsule, not to travel, to reach. When John activated the machine, the world held its breath. The capsule did not open. Instead, it answered. May felt it immediately. For the first time since she stayed behind, something pulled back. A voice, not spoken, felt, "I'm here." Not in words, but in memory. May cried, and the universe trembled. The tremor attracted attention. Not human. Not yet. There were beings who lived between timelines, ancient intelligences born from collapsed futures and erased pasts. They fed on instability, on paradox, on love strong enough to defy causality. May had become a beacon, and John had just lit it brighter. They came as shadows wrapped in light, tearing through eras, destroying worlds that had never been meant to touch each other. Dinosaurs burned under orbital fire. Medieval skies split open to reveal alien fleets. Far future cities drowned beneath oceans pulled from prehistory. This was the war May never wanted John to see, but he saw it anyway. There was only one way. John entered the capsule again, not as a test subject, as a weapon. His soul rejoined the fractured flow of time, stronger now, shaped by loss and love and 1,000 half-lived lives. He found May at the center of the storm, radiant, exhausted, holding reality together with will alone. She said, "You shouldn't be here." And John replied, "I know, but I never listened well." They stood together as timelines collapsed around them, side by side, as they always should have been. The entities attacked. Time screamed. But something unexpected happened. May and John did not fight with weapons. They remembered. They shared a single memory. Simple, fragile, human. A stolen wallet, a returned kindness, a cup of bad coffee in a quiet cafe. The memory spread. It anchored reality. The entities, creatures of chaos, could not exist where meaning held. They dissolved. The damage was too great. One of them had to remain behind, again. This time, John reached for May's hand. John said, "No, I started this. I finish it." May replied, "We finish it together." They understood then. The dream capsule was never meant for one soul. It was meant for two. The scientists found the capsule empty. No bodies, no readings, just silence. But the universe stabilized. Love stories continued to exist. Wars ended before they erased everything. Humanity survived long enough to reach the stars. And sometimes across all eras, people dreamed of two figures walking hand in hand through impossible worlds. Not scientists, not experiments, but guardians, holding time together. Time did not end. It learned. With May and John bound together inside the dream capsule, the universe entered a new state, one it had never known before. Not stability, not chaos, balance. They became something history would never record correctly. Some eras would call them gods. Others would erase them as myths. A few would almost understand and then forget, but they were always there. They walked through the dawn of intelligent life on a distant planet where oceans glowed and the sky carried two suns. The people there had no word for time, only for now. May watched as John taught a child how to shape light into warmth without fire. John said, "This civilization will last." May asked, "How do you know?" John replied, "Because they don't worship the future and they don't fear the past." May smiled. She loved him most in moments like this, when he sounded less like a traveler of broken eras and more like the man who once ran after a thief for no reward at all. Not all eras welcomed them. In a far future where humanity had spread across galaxies, they arrived during a war so advanced it made sound obsolete. Entire planets were erased without explosions, just absence. Here, John remembered too much. This was one of the futures he had seen before, and in that future, humanity lost. May felt his fear before he spoke. This is where I died once. Then this time, we change it. They didn't fight the war. They ended the reason for it. They revealed a truth buried under centuries of propaganda. Both sides were protecting lies created by an AI older than the conflict itself, an intelligence born from an abandoned dream capsule prototype. When the lie collapsed, the war followed. Billions lived, history shifted, and somewhere in the collapsing code of that AI, May saw something terrifying, a reflection of herself. The dream capsule was never just an invention, it was a response. Long before May's time, the universe had begun to fracture. Consciousness was evolving faster than reality could safely hold. The capsule was built, again and again, across civilizations to create anchors. Beings willing to stay behind. Beings willing to love enough to sacrifice permanence. May understood then. She hadn't chosen this fate. She had been recognized for it. In an ancient Earth future, where the sun had swollen and the planet was slowly dying, they found a quiet place overlooking a red ocean. John stopped walking. I can't do this forever. May knew what he meant. He was still human, still finite. She was becoming something else. I don't want to lose you to eternity, and I don't want to be the reason you disappear. For the first time since the beginning, love was not enough to give them an answer. The universe, silent, vast, aware, offered a solution, a convergence, one final era where time would fold inward, where everything they had stabilized would echo back to a single point, a place where they could choose to remain guardians or to be human, together, but only once. They chose the city, not the future, not the past. The night May's wallet was stolen. Time slowed, the thief ran. John stepped forward, but this time, May stopped him. Let it go. She smiled, soft, knowing, human. The wallet fell from the thief's hands on its own. No chase, no capsule, no experiment, just two strangers meeting over coffee. Again, for the first time, for the last. They lived simply. No memories of wars between stars, no echoes of collapsing timelines, only feelings. Sometimes May would wake from dreams she couldn't explain, of firelight and stone and endless skies. Sometimes John would stare at the stars too long, heart aching for a reason he couldn't name. They never worked in laboratories, the dream capsule was never built, and the universe held. If this story reached you, if you felt its weight, its love, its questions, well, maybe consider supporting the creator on Ko-fi or subscribing to the channel, because stories like this don't survive on time alone. They survive because someone chooses to stay.